Hey guys, it's me, Saran, back with another video. This is going to be kind of like a follow-up video to this whole Pepsi debacle. Before I get into it, I washed my hair this morning and I let it just air dry without putting any product in it, and it kind of formed this like interesting shape. I don't know if you guys can really like tell what the shape looks like, but the shape is just like really interesting. I feel like it's like not done this before, but whatever. Is there like a name for that? Did any of you guys do that? Wash your hair and condition it and then like just let it air dry without putting any product into it? What do you guys think? Anyway, so wanted to have this conversation because we've been having a conversation pretty much the entire day on Twitter about basically branding. So in my car video on Pepsi, I talked about kind of like corporate propaganda and the corporate co-opting of protest language, and someone left in the comments iconography, which was the word I was looking for. I said methodology, but I was thinking of iconography. You're taking instantly recognizable images from protest and you're co-opting them and you're using them to sell something, right? A lot of people have also noticed that one of the final shots of the Pepsi commercial was pretty much an exact replica of the very famous picture of the black woman Aisha Hodges, I believe is her last name, that was photographed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, standing in a sundress in the middle of the street in front of police. And again, that's iconography. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's iconography. You're taking iconic, images, icons, things that are instantly recognizable, and you're trying to use it to sell something. And of course, in theory, like that is what sales is, that is what marketing is, that is what promotion is, that is what PR is. It is taking things that people instantly can connect with and aligning them with your product so your product will sell. However, Aisha Hodges, who was later on arrested, and was protesting for Black lives, utilizing that to sell Pepsi is not the same as, utilizing Marilyn Monroe standing over the grates with the fucking fan coming up and blowing the dress, right? It's crass, it's tasteless, it's tone deaf, and it's absurd that, like I said in my other video, it got past an entire fucking PR team. Like, that is intense that it got past an entire PR team. So what a lot of people have been saying, though, is that, well, all news is good news. The popular old kind of thought process in marketing that, well, all news is good news. So just the fact that we're talking about it is good news. I posited on Twitter, which I'm basically going to read you guys a lot of my tweets from today, that in 2017 for millennials and for the post-millennials, I think that might be generation like Z or something. Let me know if you guys know, which I'm sure you will because you guys know everything. But for millennials and for like the post-millennial generation, that idea of all news is good news, no, that is not true. That is not true for us. That is not true in the way that we consume. So to say like, oh, well, all news is good news and just the fact that we're talking about it means it was a success, I think is kind of short-sighted, and also is another example of being out of touch with the current state of marketing, just like the PR team over at Pepsi. Like, they're out of touch. You're out of touch with the current state of marketing if you think all news is good news, because that's just not true. Like, it's not true. So I'm just going to get into some tweets. So somebody said, people are talking about Pepsi. People are talking more about Pepsi now than they ever have, which means it worked. And I replied, talking about Pepsi does not translate into sales of Pepsi. And I feel like that's just right off the bat, number one, that's a very important distinction to make, right? In 2017, we can talk about shit all day on the internet. That doesn't mean we're actually going to go out and buy it. We can talk all day about Ghost in the Shell. We can talk all day about motherfucking the Great Wall. We could talk all day about Exodus. We can talk all day about Gods and Kings. Just because we are talking about it doesn't mean we're going to go out and watch it, right? And talking about shit does not translate into money made for that brand. It does not translate into sales. And what you want is sales. You don't want people to just talk. You want them to buy. You want them to spend their money. Talking about Pepsi does not translate into sales. I said, number one, talking about Pepsi does not translate into sales of Pepsi. Number two, all news is good news is not true for the millennial generation. Millennials are much more conscious consumers, even if only on the surface level of a product being cool or uncool. And if your brand is labeled uncool, as Pepsi is now uncool, you lose in cultural capital. And I would say in 2017, in the age of the internet and social media, cultural capital is the most important. Now I'm teaching a motherfucking branding class right now. So if y'all are trying to brand, take some notes. Somebody retweeted this thread on Twitter and they were like, I'm a marketing student and this is like 2 semesters of branding and marketing classes in one thread. So if y'all want to know about some branding shit, pay attention. Cultural capital right now in 2017 is the most important thing for a brand. I really don't care. I really don't care about anything else. It doesn't matter how much money you put into filming these fucking commercials. It doesn't matter if you get the biggest name, the Kendall Jenner, the Gigi Hadid, like none of that shit matters. What matters is your brand seen as cool? How does your brand translate on the internet? Is this something that I could take a picture of and post it on Instagram, Snapchat? That is what sells, and that is cultural capital. And that's how you have people that are Vine stars and Instagram stars and Twitter celebrities and shit like that that are actually able to make whole entire careers making money off of nothing, off of personality, because they accrue cultural capital, right? If your brand is labeled uncool and Pepsi is now uncool, you lose in cultural capital. People that make a living as influencers and content creators are now going to steer away from Pepsi, right? All those girls that you follow on Instagram and shit that like post a picture with them like, oh, don't you just love having a soda by the beach? And they have like the Coke or they have like the whatever product. People get paid to put those type of posts on Instagram, number one, right? A lot of the times we don't know it because I don't know what the rules are on Instagram. Like here on YouTube, if a product is sponsored, you have to say up front, this was a sponsored video, or I received these products for free, or I'm being paid, whatever. Because if you don't do it and YouTube finds out, that's like a strike on your channel, and they could like yank your videos, and like they could like do all this stuff because they run their own ads. So, but Instagram has ads now too. So maybe you have to do it on Instagram now too. But like previously, you didn't have to. You could just like, and my flat tummy tea. I know y'all seen the girls with the flat tummy tea. All that stuff, again, is about cultural capital. And now Pepsi has lost their cultural capital. They are not cool. So those influencers and shit are not going to want to be associated with Pepsi, and that matters. People that make a living as influencers and content creators are now going to steer far away from Pepsi because they won't want to be associated with it as a brand that matters. Pepsi will be associated with this forever because the internet never forgets, which is another thing that has kind of really turned this whole concept of like all news is good news on its head, because the internet and social media means that if you fuck up, it never goes away. People will always be able to Google like Pepsi ad protest or something like that. 10 years from now, people will be able to look that shit up. That's something that's gonna follow Pepsi, right? It really is. It's gonna, and they made such a big deal about this rollout and with Kendall Jenner and blah, blah, blah. That's not something that's gonna blow over easily. Pepsi will be associated with this forever because the internet never forgets. That's money down the drain they won't get back. Fire everyone involved. Y'all are operating on hella outdated understandings of marketing, and it's a new age. When a 21-year-old goes to buy a case of soda for a party, they will think twice about buying Pepsi because of this. And then I put like a hypothetical question that will run through somebody's mind. Will someone post a pic of the Pepsi on IG with the caption about how I support them? That's a reflection that wouldn't have mattered pre-internet social media, i.e. all news is good news. So like if you're a kid, a teenager, or a 21-year-old or whatever, even if you personally maybe necessarily don't care about Pepsi and what blah, 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 the Pepsi debacle, whatever, you are going to stop and think when you see that Pepsi on the shelf about, what if I invite such and such to my party, and I know that such and such is kind of into the whole social justice thing, and I know that such and such has like 10,000 followers on Instagram, and I really don't want them to take a picture of the Pepsi and be like, something about crack some joke or post some, so you know what, I'm not even going to get the Pepsi, I'm just going to get the Coke, or I'm just going to get the this, or I'm just going to get the that. That is not something that would have mattered pre-internet. That's not something that would have mattered pre-social media. Even if that was a thought that you had, it would have just been something that maybe everybody at the party ragged on you for a couple minutes and then we all moved on. But now, again, with the internet and the social media, these are the type of reflections that consumers are thinking about And then again, that is cultural capital. That is where does the product, what type of product does the value have within the culture, right? Take notes. I'm teaching a class. That's a reflection that wouldn't have mattered pre-internet social media, i.e. all news is good news, but in 2017, nah. Like, and then somebody tried to say, okay, but like compare this to the Colin Kaepernick thing. Somebody was like, Kaepernick was ripped apart in the media last year. His jersey sold the most in the NFL. I was like, he was on the right side of the debate. Pepsi is not. That is a false equivalence. If you haven't seen my video on false equivalences, it should be popping up in the right-hand corner. And of course, to see related videos and content, click the I in the right-hand corner or check the description box. I said he was on the right side of the debate. Pepsi is not. This is a false equivalence. Kaepernick was ripped for non-violent protest against state-sanctioned violence. Pepsi is being ripped for tone-deaf corporate propaganda. Kaepernick was also a private citizen not selling anything, while Pepsi is a global conglomerate. This is really not the same at all. And then I said, not to mention, a lot of people also burned Kaepernick jerseys. It wasn't like it was just a free-for-all of people buying his shit. And then this person said, okay, but the right and wrong side of the argument is determined by who exactly, which was a great question, which I said, the eyes of the public, aka the consumers, right? The consumers, the people that Pepsi is attempting to sell a product to. You want to sell folks a product, don't piss them off. People bought Kaepernick's jersey because they determined, the public, the consumers, that he was on the right side of the argument. They have also determined that Pepsi is on the wrong side, right? So they're not going to buy the shit, right? And then this person said, well, but many people thought that Kaepernick was in the wrong. And I was like, and those people burned jerseys. They didn't buy them, right? Again, Pepsi is seen as wrong in the eyes of the public. They won't buy the product. And then I said, another prime example, Uber. Some 600,000 users deleted their accounts after the debacle during the Muslim ban and the CEO going nuclear on a driver. I don't know if any of you guys saw that video, but the CEO, I think his name is Travis, ripped a fucking driver. Really, really lost it on video. And I said previously, the press garnered during all of this attention for Uber would have been seen as a good thing because at least we were all talking about it. I was like, but in 2017, the stocks tumbled due to public perception, because this is what we're talking about, public perception, cultural capital, and the CEO had to make a public apology and vow to improve the culture of his brand. It's a new day. You can't just say and do whatever and ride the press wave anymore. You will fuck up your brand. And these kids, don't forget, they're still putting snake emojis on Taylor's Instagram. The whole reason why we're able to fucking fuck around with the comments and turn the comments and shit like that on and off on Instagram is because the number of people, millions of people that spent months, literally, and still do at this very moment, putting snakes on Taylor Swift's Instagram after that whole fucking Taylor Swift, Kim Kardashian, her lying shit. She fucked up her brand. Taylor Swift's brand has still not recovered from that, and I highly doubt her brand will ever recover from that. Like, of course she's gonna, like, come back with new music, and people are gonna love it, and they're gonna give her all the Grammys and blah, blah, blah. But, like, Taylor being a snake became a joke, became a meme, which I'm gonna make a video, I think, on memes as valid social commentary, because they really are, and they affect the way that people think, and the way that they consume, and the way that they look at products, and the way that they look at these fucking celebrities. And it's like Taylor Swift as a snake became a thing, and now when people see her, they think about that shit, and they remember it. They're not just, but she still has her hardcore fans and shit, but they're not just blindly consuming her products. That shit mattered. That shit mattered. It was not good press. It was not good press for her. It mattered. And then I said, and especially with, like, teenagers, which is, like, whatever, like, that Generation Z or whatever, they don't know what brand loyalty is. They will drop any brand if there is even a whiff of racism, sexism, you know, all the isms, you know. I was like, and with the internet, no one brand has a monopoly on anything. Anything you want, you can find from another brand. There is no such thing as brand loyalty anymore. There's no such thing as, like, oh, my dad drank Pepsi, so I'm going to drink Pepsi. It's like, I don't have to drink Pepsi. I could probably go online and find an alternative if I really want to have sugar water. I could probably go online and find ingredients to make my own Pepsi if I was really determined, right? Like, there's no such thing as brand loyalty in 2017, right? Somebody said to me, rules of the game have changed. Social media has caused business loss. Consumers pressure either advertisers or other consumers to pull out. Soda sales have bottomed out. They're desperate, and this is a disaster. Somebody said, have you, not me, they were replying to someone else, have you ever studied marketing? I can't believe this simplistic misunderstanding of all news is good news is so widespread. And I said, all attention is good attention has really stuck as a concept, even though the internet and social media changed everything we knew about sales and branding. Especially as the power of social media and Black Twitter grows, we are rewriting the rules on everything. And then I said, online celebs are called influencers for a reason. And then right after that, I saw, Charles and Blow, who I follow, who has 333,000 followers, right, on Twitter, posted something that said, I'm boycotting all Pepsi products. Here is a list of their brands. 3,000 people, right, retweeted that, right? And then somebody else, and that was a link. Somebody else replied with a picture version, like a meme. Here's a full list of PepsiCo subsidiaries, including their snack lines, which if any of y'all want to see what it is, these are all of the brands owned by Pepsi. If you want to boycott these, but I don't need any of these brands, but those are all the brands owned by Pepsi, right? And then I was like, see, that matters. People have literally looked up all brands owned by Pepsi to boycott and disseminate that info to thousands of people, right? Which would never have happened pre-internet social media. All news is not good news. You have caused your brand to take a huge hit in terms of public perception, in terms of cultural capital, to the point where someone that has influenced over 333,000 people put out a list of all of your products for people to boycott. All news is not good news. All news is not good news, you know? Somebody else said, this might be an argument, as in all news is good news, for a relatively unknown brand, but Pepsi, they need positive associations, not just general eyeballs. Because the old way of thinking was that, okay, you're raising the profile of the brand because people are at least going to go look and see. Oh, people are going to go look at the Pepsi commercial to see what it's about. I mean, we know what it's about. It's trying to sell Pepsi. Like, it's not like that's necessarily anything new. And again, just because people are going to look at the commercial, you don't even have to go look at the commercial on YouTube for ad revenue and stuff like that anymore. You could watch it on Twitter, which is how I said I watched it. You could watch it on Instagram. You can look it up on Snapchat. You don't even have to necessarily go. And again, that's the power of the internet, social media in 2017. You don't even have to go to the horse's mouth and provide any type of clicks or ad revenue to even watch the commercial if you don't want to, right? There's just too many options nowadays for the idea of all news is good news to make sense. It doesn't work that way anymore. Someone else, this shit matters. I made it to Cool Brands UK when I was 23. We talked about, branding and your brand being labeled uncool at the board meeting, and I still have my copy. It's seen as very important. Another person, a marketer in Jamaica, I believe, marketing and PR. There's no such thing as the no such thing as bad publicity idea is outdated pre-internet garbage. No sensible brand team in 2017 subscribes to that. Someone else, New Balance, Uber, constant whitewashing flops in theaters. These corporations think they can get away with anything and keep finding out that the stove is hot, right? Ghost in the Shell. We all talked about Ghost in the Shell. We talked about Ghost in the Shell for a whole entire year. Somebody retweeted one of my tweets from literally 1 year ago saying that Rinko Kikuchi, who's been in a million fucking movies. She was in Pacific Rim, she was in Babel, she's been in domestic American films as well as films overseas. I said she would have been perfectly cast. Somebody retweeted that. It was literally from a year ago. So we've been talking, for example, about Ghost in the Shell for a whole year. So by the logic of all news is good news, that would mean that we've been creating buzz for the movie for a whole year, so that when the movie came out, the movie should have just done great. No, the movie fucking flopped. The movie came in behind the motherfucking Boss Baby. Like a talking baby whooped the ass of Ghost in the Shell, which cost tons of money to make and will probably recoup their losses overseas. But again, they took a huge hit due to the whitewashing controversy. That was not some all news is good news. It was the reverse. It lowered the cultural capital of the film. It lowered the public perception of the film. And another thing that I think that people really haven't caught on to yet in this era of social media, internet, digital marketing, branding, that really goes against, it's actually the complete flip side of all news is good news, all attention is good attention. The flip side of that is that enough negative attention will tank your product. If enough influencers on Twitter, if enough influencers on YouTube, if enough influencers on Instagram, if enough influencers on Snapchat come out saying your product is trash, come out saying your product is racist, your product is sexist, your product is whitewashed, we're not going to support it, that will influence people not going to see your movie or support your product. Because even the people that are interested in your product and maybe want to know what your product is about, they don't want to be seen as uncool. They don't want to be seen as, and again, influence. Online celebrities are called influencers because the influence is really there. Like, and I'm not saying it's a good thing. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that it's good that people have so much influence over other people, but it is true. Like, if enough people get behind saying this is some fucking bullshit, they yank that Pepsi ad. They yank that ad. Right? If the whole point was just about trolling and getting attention and getting eyeballs on the product, they would have left it up. They yanked that shit. And they publicly apologized and yanked it in not even 24 hours. Because the public perception, there was a growing backlash against their company. And there's gonna, and it's gonna reach a point again. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the stocks fall, because again, you're gonna see people that have literally made it uncool to have a Pepsi. So now, and again, in the era of memes, of viral ideas, of ooh, girl, you drink Pepsi? The next time you go out to fucking a club or a brunch and somebody orders a fucking, oh, I want a rum and Coke. Oh, we don't have Coke. People were joking about that, making memes. Memes are valid social commentary. People were joking about that shit, making memes on Twitter. Oh, we're out of Pepsi. We're out of Pepsi. We're out of Coke. Do you have Pepsi? And then they flip the table, right? Like, you go out and you order a rum and Coke and they say, I don't have Coke and I have a Pepsi. Oh no, I'll just get something else. Because now Pepsi is going to be associated with it. It's going to have this negative connotation. All news is not good news, right? Like, and people have also caught on to trolling. Just like I said in my last video about trolling, hipster racism and trolling for rage clicks. People have also caught on to trolling as well. And this idea of that you are trolling, trolling for me to buy your product or look up your product or whatever. So people are making it like completely the opposite. Like, don't touch this fucking product. Don't even think about touching this fucking product. And people are not going to do it, right? That is fucking advertising, PR, marketing 2017. It really is. Like, everyone should read, y'all know I love me some Malcolm Gladwell. One of the books that I read as a teenager was recommended to me in high school. That really changed my life, really. It's called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. So this was like not pre-internet, but like pre-social media, really. Social media was kind of just getting started. Like, Facebook had like just gotten started, and MySpace and all that stuff. And Malcolm Gladwell wrote The Tipping Point, which was about the tipping point. So nowadays, since again, this is pre-internet, pre-social media, nowadays the idea will kind of be like going viral, like, the virulency, I know how to spell it, virulency, virulency, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but when an idea goes viral, Malcolm Gladwell wrote about this as the tipping point for an idea. Now, with the internet and social media and these influencers, the tipping point on ideas is way lower than it used to be. So you don't need all good news is good news, all attention is good attention. You needed all attention is good attention when the tipping point was like way up here, and you just like had to like keep working and working and working to like get even the awareness of your product up to a certain point. With the internet, you don't need that. The tipping point is far lower, the place where the idea tips over into public knowledge and kind of like spreads. And again, PR people keep working in this like old-fashioned way, and they keep fucking up their brands. I read a really good article on Forbes, which was about how they yanked the ads, which I pinned to yesterday's video, and which I'll put in the description box for today's video, that I'm just going to read you guys a little bit, and then we're going to go. Pepsi is famed for its big-scale adverts that drip with big-name celebrities. At least that was until today. The advert was made by Pepsi's in-house team, and while many have blamed this for its failure, I can equally see this squeaking by even if an external agency was in charge. Such are the times in agency land. Blame isn't the point, though. Who made it is somewhat irrelevant. The issue here is not that it was made, but rather the assumptions and insights behind the ad. Millennials aren't a hard-to-reach bunch of people. In fact, there have never been more ways to reach them. But we see brand after brand continually read out of old playbooks, just like the all news is good news, all attention is good attention, and stereotypical, instead we see brand after brand continually read out of old playbooks and stereotypical information perpetuated by people who should know better. Millennials are extremely good at sniffing out rubbish, and they understand when they are being abused. This sums up the Pepsi ad. It was an example of a brand that clearly does not know what is going on. Again, it was corporate propaganda. It was corporate propaganda. It was corporate warfare. This idea of, well, millennials, we want to appeal to millennials, and millennials love protest, so let's align our product with protest, and let's adopt the iconography of protest, the language of protest, which is corporate warfare, that is class warfare, that is corporate propaganda. We're going to create this piece of propaganda to try to get these millennial protesters on our side. And if worse comes to worse, all news is good news and people are still going to look at our product. Fundamental misunderstanding of the consumer, fundamental misunderstanding of digital PR, marketing, everything. And that's why that shit got yanked. That is why that shit got yanked. That is why that type of thing doesn't work, is not going to work, it's going to continue to not work, right? Millennials aren't stupid. And the generation after us is less stupid, and we are consuming in a different way. And I talked about this even a little bit in Bees Bake with the whole Shea Moisture thing. Like, yes, Shea Moisture products, just like going with that, Shea Moisture products might work. They might be easy to come by. They might be in your price range. Like, and I'm not going to tell anybody that can't, or won't stop using them that they're a bad person or anything like that. But like, white-owned Walmart products might also do the same thing. And, at a certain point, we have to start consuming smarter, and a lot of people are reaching that point where they are consuming smarter, where it's just like, oh, you're just trying to sell me some capitalist shit. Oh, you're co-opting protest language to sell me some shit. You're recreating famous protest imagery, iconography featuring a black woman. You're remaking it in the image of this, this wealthy white girl as the face of protest. I don't have to support your product. What is brand loyalty? Why do I have to be loyal to a brand that is not loyal to me? Which I also said about Shea Moisture. Something to think about. Long video. This was a class on advertising. Any of you trying to get into making money on the internet, not that I make a ton of money on the internet or anything like that, take all this shit into consideration, right? Because it matters. So I was going to do a Kendrick Lamar video today or tomorrow, but this Pepsi thing kind of like took over, and I promised I was going to post my Suicide Squad review video on Friday. So I think I'm going to put my Kendrick Lamar video up on Monday. So I will be posting why I enjoyed Suicide Squad on Friday, though. So that will be coming. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Links in the description box. Let me know what you think in the comments. Peace.